There comes a moment in every man's life when silence stops being a reaction and becomes a declaration, not a retreat, not a tactic, not a wounded pause while you wait for her to notice the emptiness she created, but a conscious decision to no longer participate in your own disrespect. And that's the moment she realizes your silence isn't a game. You see, a lot of women today become desensitized to attention. They grow used to men chasing, begging, proving, and pleading. They build their identity around the certainty that you'll always be there, always available, always responding, always giving them emotional access on demand. But when a Stoic man finally steps back, when he withdraws not to hurt her, but to protect himself, it shakes something deep inside her, because this kind of silence isn't passive, it isn't weak, it isn't a cry for her validation. It's power, it's clarity. It is the quiet truth that you no longer need to be heard in order to know your worth. And if you're listening to this right now, brother, there's a good chance life has brought you to that crossroads, a point where you're finally tired of being the only one who cares, the only one who tries, the only one who carries the connection on your back. So let me ask you something. What kind of man do you become when you stop waiting for her to understand you and start understanding yourself? Because the moment you choose silence from a place of strength, not frustration, that's the moment everything changes. Before we go any further, I want you to anchor yourself in that transformation. Comment below, "I choose peace, purpose, and power." Let that be the phrase that marks your turning point, the moment you stopped reacting and started rising. Now, let's begin. When a woman senses your silence shift from reaction to intention, everything inside her recalibrates. She can feel the difference between a man who's hurting and a man who's healing, between a man who wants her back and a man who wants his life back. Your silence becomes a mirror, one she cannot ignore, because for the first time, she's forced to confront the space you used to fill, your presence, your reliability, your warmth, your consistency, all suddenly missing, not because you're playing a game, but because you finally understood the value of your own energy. This is the moment where she starts remembering the things she took for granted, replaying conversations, replaying your patience, replaying the way you showed up again and again when she was inconsistent or confused. And in that quiet space, the power shifts, not because you're trying to win, but because you finally chose yourself. Your silence isn't punishment. It's clarity, it's boundaries, it's you saying, "I deserve better than chaos." And once she realizes that your silence comes from strength, not weakness, her entire narrative about you and about herself begins to crack. She starts wondering what changed when she lost that access, when the door began to close. And for the first time, she sees you not as someone waiting, but as someone rising. That shift is always louder than any words you could have spoken. There comes a moment in every man's journey when he realizes the most powerful response isn't anger, arguments, or explanations. It's the steady, collected silence of a man who finally understands his worth. She felt your absence, but what she never expected was the strength behind it. The strength of a man who no longer seeks validation from someone who couldn't see his value. And here's the truth. Most won't say out loud. When a woman is used to a man reacting instantly, apologizing instantly, explaining instantly, she builds a quiet belief that she controls the emotional rhythm of the connection. But the second you break that pattern, the second you choose stillness over chasing, clarity over conflict, her entire perception shifts. She's no longer dealing with the version of you she once knew. She's now facing the man who realized he doesn't need to prove himself to be worthy of love. That shift, internal, unshakable, and silent, creates a kind of pressure she can feel even through the distance, because silence from a man with self-respect isn't emptiness. It's a declaration. It's a boundary. It's a new identity being forged in real time. And soon, she will have to face the truth. Your silence wasn't a tactic. It was the moment you finally stopped negotiating for a place in someone's life who was unsure about yours. There comes a moment in every man's journey where he finally understands something life-changing. You don't reclaim power by talking, arguing, or proving a point. You reclaim it by refusing to participate in the things that drain you. And the truth is, she feels that shift long before you ever notice it yourself. Women are deeply intuitive when it comes to emotional energy. They know when a man is slipping into weakness, and they know when a man is rising back into himself. When your silence becomes steady, grounded, and disciplined, she feels it. Your absence starts echoing louder than your presence ever did. Suddenly, the dynamic flips. She's no longer analyzing your mistakes. She's analyzing her own. She's no longer asking why you changed. She's wondering when you did. And that uncertainty eats at her. Because here's the secret nobody tells men. The moment you stop proving your value, you become undeniable. The moment you stop chasing validation, the world starts validating you. And when she realizes she no longer has the influence she once had over you, something inside her shifts. Panic, curiosity, regret. It all hits at once. Not because you're playing games, but because for the first time you made a decision based on your worth, not your wounds. And that decision is what pulls your power back into your hands. And here's the moment nobody talks about. The moment when the power shifts entirely, silently, and without warning. It happens when she realizes that your silence wasn't meant to provoke her, punish her, or pull her closer. It was simply the moment you stopped handing her the emotional leverage she used to rely on. What once worked on you no longer works. What once controlled you no longer touches you. And she can feel that distance, even if she pretends she can't. She starts replaying things she said, rethinking the way she acted, reconsidering everything she once took for granted, because your silence forces her to confront the truth. She doesn't have the influence over your heart that she believed she did. And when a man stops reacting, he becomes unpredictable. When he stops chasing, he becomes powerful. When he stops explaining, he becomes untouchable. That shift, that cold, quiet shift, is where she begins to feel the weight of losing a man she thought would always be available, and deep down, a part of her knows she pushed you there, and she knows she might not get you back. There comes a moment, quiet, subtle, almost invisible to the outside world, when the power dynamic flips, not because you forced it, not because you begged for it, but because she suddenly realizes she no longer has access to the version of you she once took for granted. The man who used to react instantly now moves slowly. The man who used to answer every message now thinks before responding. The man who once placed her at the center of his emotional universe now orbits his own purpose, and that shift, your shift, creates a discomfort in her chest she can't describe, and a confusion she can't hide, because women always expect you to return to the spot where they left you. They expect you to remain frozen in the position they last saw you. But when you evolve, when you detach, when you rise, she goes searching for a man who no longer exists, and that terrifies her more than any silence ever could, because she learns the truth. Your silence wasn't punishment, it was transformation. There comes a moment in a man's life when he realizes the most powerful thing he can do is nothing, not out of fear, not out of hesitation, but out of unshakable self-command. And this is where she begins to feel the shift most intensely. Because silence isn't just the absence of words, it is the presence of a man who refuses to be pulled, pushed, or provoked out of his center. In this stage, Your energy stops leaking into arguments, justifications, explanations, or emotional negotiations that lead nowhere. Instead, you retreat inward, you fortify your mind, and you operate from a place of unbothered clarity. And trust me, women feel this down to their bones. She senses when your silence is rooted in self-respect rather than insecurity. She notices when you've stopped reacting to her inconsistency, her mood swings, her games, her push-pull tactics. Suddenly, she's no longer the one evaluating you. Now she feels like she's standing in front of a mirror she can't hide from. And that's the twist most men never understand. Your silence forces her to confront the parts of herself she's been running from. It exposes how careless she was with your presence. It magnifies how valuable your attention actually was. And while she sits there wondering why you're so calm, why you're so collected, why you're not crawling back, you're transforming into the kind of man who doesn't chase validation because he finally recognizes his own worth. There comes a moment in every man's journey where the emotional weather finally clears, and he sees the world from higher ground. It's the moment you stop replaying the past, stop questioning your worth, stop wondering what she thinks, and instead begin to realize something more powerful. You were always the one with the power to walk away. This is where the dynamic flips permanently, because once a man chooses silence not as punishment, not as manipulation, but as alignment with who he's becoming, she begins to feel something she's not used to, the absence of her influence. She starts noticing your glow, your discipline, your new habits, your distance, your peace, and suddenly the roles reverse entirely. The woman who once felt certain suddenly feels unsure. The woman who controlled the rhythm suddenly feels out of sync. The woman who thought you'd wait forever now realizes she misjudged you completely. This is where she begins to understand that silence is not your weapon, it's your freedom. And the irony, it's only once she loses access to you that she finally sees who you were the entire time, a man growing into someone she can no longer reach, redirect, or break. This is the shift she never expected, and the transformation you always needed. In the end, brother, silence isn't just the absence of noise, it's the presence of power. A woman may spend days, weeks, even months trying to decode why you stopped reacting, why you stopped chasing, why you stopped explaining yourself. But deep down, she knows the truth. You didn't disappear to punish her, you walked away to protect yourself. And any man who reaches that level of inner discipline is already operating in a higher realm than the one she tried to keep him in. That's the quiet transformation she never sees coming, the moment you stop trying to prove your worth, because you finally understand your worth. And if she ever circles back, if she ever tries to rekindle what she once took for granted, you'll realize something profound. You no longer need what you were once desperate to save. That is the victory no one applauds, but every man feels in his soul. And if this message hit you deeply, if it made you rethink the way you carry yourself, the way you react, the way you choose your peace over validation, then do me a favor, like, comment and subscribe, and turn on notifications to join the Stoic army. Comment the phrase, "My silence is my power," so I know you made it to the end. Thank you for watching, brother. And remember, stay disciplined, stay detached, and stay dangerous in your peace.